Today we're going to talk about how you can use Charting the Life course thinking and tools for getting the most out of your self-directed funds. One of the things that we're going to talk about is how to maximize limited funds for a good life. As you know, when you self-direct, you only get a certain amount of funding, and you can decide how you want to use that and what times and that type of thing. And you can hire your own staff, but sometimes you have to get creative to make it work for your lifestyle. So I want to show you an example of my son Ben's services before we really started thinking about using integrated supports well. So when he got out of high school, we had to figure out a way for my husband and I to keep working. And so we were able to get funding to have 40 hours a week of self-directed personal care attendant. And so if you look at the star on your left, you will see that under the relationship part of the star, you have mom and dad. And that reflects on the right-hand side in the calendar page that is there as all of the time that isn't covered by paid supports. And then if you look at the eligibility specific portion of the star, you'll see that Ben received the self-directed waiver and was able to hire personal care attendant staff. And so that is the green part of the calendar page on your right. And that's what his life looked like when he got out of school. So during the day when my husband and I were at work, he had 40 hours of paid services with a paid care attendant. And then the rest of the time he was with mom and dad. And so if he needed to go somewhere, needed support somewhere, it was mom and dad. So that was his life. Paid services, mom and dad. Not the best life, not the most exciting life for a 21-year-old. And so because of a number of circumstances that started happening, one of which we realized that when we started self-directing, we didn't get a whole lot of direction on how to do it or how to really think about how many hours we would need. And so we had asked for 40 hours because that's what we thought we needed, not thinking about the fact that we would need time to commute back and forth from work, which really means you need more than 40 hours. And so in my old way of thinking, my first inclination was, well, maybe I should just go back to the regional office, to the state, and ask for more hours. And I probably could have made a good case to get that. However, talking to some friends and wonderful advisors and really thinking about the life course, Charting the Life course, I started thinking a little bit differently. At the same time, Ben was volunteering 2 days a week at the fire station, and he was supported there. He was taken there and supported there by his staff. And the fire station had actually proposed that he just be brought to the fire station and dropped off, and that they would support him while he was there. And at first I was a little bit hesitant. If you've ever heard the term mom fear, if you haven't, you know what it is if you're a mom. I was thinking of all the things that could go wrong. And then I realized, well, gosh, if he has a seizure or something happens to him, he's at the fire station where they have paramedics and ambulances, and I think he would probably be okay. And so, we decided as a family that we would try it. And so we started transforming to what you're going to see on the next slide. And let me tell you, before I even show you the next slide, this didn't happen all at once. It happened very gradually. But as you see, his picture looked very different. And so when you look at the calendar page on the right, you'll notice that there are 2 days a week in that green that now shows as a blue color, which is community-based supports. So that was while he was at the fire station volunteering. Anything that he needed, he was supported by the people that were there, by the firemen that were at the fire station. They took care of anything that he might need while he was there. And so eventually, after that worked out well, Ben also volunteered at the high school during football season. And so we're like, gosh, does he really need paid supports to go with him to the high school? Because, he went to high school there for several years, and he pretty much knows his way around, although like in most things, Ben can get turned around. But for the most part, he's familiar with that area. People are very familiar with him. People know him there, the coaches, the other teachers, kids that go there, they know who Ben is. And so we felt like if he needed anything while he was there, they would kind of look out for him. And so we started doing that. And you'll notice on the green part of the star where it was green before, there's another strip each day of the week that he's supported at the high school by the people that are there, by the coaches, friends, and other people that might be there. If you look at the left-hand side where the star is, you'll notice that we started thinking about, gosh, what are the other relationships besides mom and dad that could support him in that part from before that was going back all purple, all light purple, which was just mom and dad? How could we add in some other things? And so, Ben likes to go to live wrestling matches. He likes to go to music concerts. And I would always take him to those things and didn't really mind going to the music concerts, but frankly, didn't want to go to wrestling. And, for him, does he really want to be accompanied everywhere by his mom? And so we started looking for other ways. And so his brothers, people that he went to school with, friends from the fire station, how could we engage them to do things with Ben? And so it works out well because they get a free ticket to go do something, and Ben gets somebody to take him there and be there with him and make sure he gets a Pepsi and a t-shirt, and just have a good time with. And so it works out as a win-win for both sides. And so we started adding in lots of other places where he could do stuff with family and friends other than mom and dad. And then we looked at the blue part of the star, the light blue part, where it says personal strengths and assets. And we're like, gosh, we have to really work on his ability to be home alone, because up until the end of school, he had never spent a moment home alone or even alone anywhere. He always had a paid person with him at school and either had family or a paid person with him at home. And so we started working on his ability to stay home alone for short periods of time. We literally started with 5 minutes at a time. I would go for a walk just down to the end of the block and come back and check on him. And that was partly for my anxiety and partly for his, so that he could learn to stay home alone for short periods of time. And now he's able to stay home alone for up to an hour, sometimes even a little bit more. He has an iPad that he uses during that time, especially, that kind of keeps him occupied and keeps his stress down, keeps his anxiety down while he's home alone. And so it's been a real great thing for us as a family, because if I just need to run to the store or if I'm a little late getting home from work, he can be home for a few minutes by himself and it's not a problem. That also brings up technology. So using that iPad when he's home alone. And again, as you see now, we've all gone all the way around the stars. We've already talked about community-based at the fire station, at the high school, as well as using the green part of the star. That enabled us to do a couple of things. As I said earlier, we had found that we didn't have enough hours in the week because of commute time. Well, now we do, because we have extra time that he's supported in other ways at the fire station and at the high school. And so we can use that time for our commute time. We don't need as many hours. And so it also enabled us to think about, did we want to raise the rate of pay for our staff? So that was another advantage to that. So I'm going to show you just really quickly, just the blank forms that you can use to do that, because this is really easy. You can do it yourself. So first you want to map out the supports that you already have available or that your family member could use. And so you want to put their name in the middle of the star, and then you want to think about, do you have, if you have the waiver, you want to write that in the eligibility specific part of the star, but who are the people in their lives that maybe when they're out doing something, whether it's going to the gym, going to volunteer, doing different things, could they be supported by other people? What are their personal strengths and assets, and what could they learn to do? What technology do they have available? Do they have a smartphone or an iPad or a digital watch? Things that could help them be supported in ways other than having a paid person there. One of the things we recently did as well was we bought the Nest cameras, so that if somebody comes to the door, it pops up on my phone so I can see that somebody's there, which gives me a lot of peace of mind, because even though we've told Ben not to answer the door if he's home alone, I always worry that he will. And then we also have an indoor camera where he can talk to us or we can talk to him, and just to make sure he's doing okay. Or if he's stressed and really wants to get a hold of us, he can do it that way as well. And so just think about the different supports that you have available that could possibly blend with the paid supports that you get through self-directing, and help you maximize that. And overall, I mean, even though it's going to help you maximize the time and the amount of hours you have, it's also going to help your family member have a good life, a better life than just a paid life or just a green life, as we call it. And so then the next thing you can do is you can take what you've mapped, and you can put that onto this calendar. And so the example I showed you, I had done on the computer, but you can just really take a colored pencil if you want to, and just draw in the times. So for instance, if your family member is supported by staff from 9 o'clock to noon on Monday, then you would just color green in the spot from 9 o'clock to noon on Monday. And so you would do that with each of the parts of the week and where they're supported. The reason you do this is really, it can help you just kind of see where, gosh, maybe we could do this differently, or you know, I really need a break because I'm the main caregiver and there's not a time when he's supported by anybody else, or whatever, but it's going to help you identify those areas where maybe you could make a change and integrate more different kinds of supports. So just give it a try. Again, there's no right or wrong, and it doesn't have to be fancy, and you know, you don't even have to color it in if you don't want to. You could just write on the calendar, but it does, I think, help to see the colors, because when you think about that more colorful life that we talk about, it really brings that to bear. So just give it a try. Here's an example of how somebody just used colored pencil to color in their calendar. So you can totally do that.